the Children's Museum of Cleveland, and today I have two stories I'm going to read. Our first one is called A Bad Case of Stripes by David Shannon, and it's a silly story about a girl and her favorite vegetable, lima beans. Are you ready? Here we go. Camellia Cream loved lima beans, but she never ate them. All of her friends hated lima beans, and she wanted to fit in. Camilla was always worried about what other people thought of her. Today, she was fretting even more than usual. It was the first day of school, and she couldn't decide what to wear. There were so many people to impress. She tried on 42 outfits, but none seemed quite right. She put on a pretty red dress and looked into the mirror. Then she screamed. Her mother ran into her room and she screamed too. "Oh my heavens," she cried, "you're completely covered in stripes." This certainly was true. Camilla was striped from head to toe and she looked like a rainbow. Mrs. Cream felt Camilla's head. "Do you feel all right?" she asked. "I feel fine," Camilla answered, "but look at me." "You have got to get back into bed this instant," her mother ordered. "But you're not going to school today." Camilla was relieved. She didn't want to miss the first day of school, but she was afraid of what the other kids would say, and she had no idea what to wear with those crazy stripes. That afternoon, Dr. Bumble came to examine Camilla. "Most extraordinary," he exclaimed. "I have never seen anything like it. Are you having any coughing, sneezing, runny nose, aches, pains, chills, hot flashes, dizziness, drowsiness, shortness of breath, or uncontrollable twitching?" "No," Camilla told him. "I feel fine." "Well then," Dr. Bumble said, turning to Miss Cream, "I don't see any reason why she shouldn't go to school tomorrow. Here's some ointment that could help clear up the stripes in a few days. If it doesn't, you know where to reach me." And off he went. The next day was a disaster. Everyone at school laughed at Camilla. They called her Camellia Crayon and Night of the Living Lollipop. She tried her best to act as if everything was normal, but when the class said the Pledge of Allegiance, her stripes turned red, white, and blue, and she broke out into stars. Other kids thought this was great. One yelled out, "Let's see some purple polka dots." And sure enough, Camilla turned all purple polka dotty. Someone else shouted, "Checkerboard!" and a pattern of squares covered her skin. Soon everyone was calling out different shapes and colors, and poor Camilla was changing faster than you can change the channels on a TV. That night, Mr. Harms, the school principal, called. "I'm sorry, Miss Cream," he said. "I'm going to have to ask you to keep Camilla at home from school. She's just too much of a distraction, and I have been getting calls from other parents. They're afraid those stripes may be contagious." Camilla was so embarrassed. She couldn't believe that 2 days ago, everyone liked her. Now, nobody wanted to be in the same room with her. Her father tried to make her feel better. "Is there anything I can get you, sweetheart?" he asked. "No, thank you," sighed Camilla. What she really wanted was a nice plate of lima beans, but she had been laughed at enough for one day. Well, yes, I see," Dr. Bumble mumbled when Mr. Cream called on the phone the next day. "I think I'd better bring in some specialists. We'll be right over." About an hour later, Dr. Bumble arrived with 4 people in long white coats. He introduced them to the Creams. "This is Dr. Grop, Dr. Sponge, Dr. Cricket, and Dr. Young." The specialist went to work on Camilla. They squeezed and jabbed, tapped and tested, and it was very uncomfortable. "Well, it's not the mumps," concluded Dr. Grop. "Or the measles," said Dr. Sponge. "And it's definitely not chicken pox," said Dr. Cricket. "Or sunburn," said Dr. Young. "Try these," said the specialist. They each handed her a bottle filled with different colored pills. "Take one of each before bed every night," said Dr. Grop. And they left out the front door, followed by Dr. Bumble. The next night, Camilla took her medicine. It was awful. When she woke up the next morning, she did feel different. But when she went to get dressed, her clothes didn't fit right. Then she looked in the mirror, and there, staring back at her, was a giant, multicolored pill with her face on it. Dr. Bumble rushed over as soon as Miss Cream called, but this time, instead of specialists, he brought the experts. Dr. Gourd and Dr. Mellon were the finest scientific minds in the land. Once again, Camilla was poked and prodded, looked at and listened to. The experts wrote down lots of numbers. Then they huddled together and whispered. Dr. Gourd finally spoke. "It might be a virus," he announced with the authority. Suddenly, frizzly, and little virus balls appeared all over Camilla. "Or possibly a form of bacteria," said Mr. Mellon. Out popped the squiggly little bacteria tails. "Or it could be a fungus," said Dr. Gourd. Instantly, Camilla was covered in different color fungus blotches. The experts looked at Camilla, then at each other. "We need to go over these numbers again. Back at the lab," said Dr. Gourd. "We will call you when we know something." But the experts didn't have a clue, much less a cure. By now, the TV news found out about Camilla. Reporters from every channel were outside her house, telling the story of the bizarre case of the incredible changing kid. Soon, a huge crowd was camped out in front of the lawn. The creams were swamped with all kinds of remedies from psychologists to allergists, herbalists, nutritionists, psychics, an old medicine man, a guru, and even a veterinarian. Each so-called cure only added to poor Camilla's strange appearance until it was hard to even recognize her. She had sprouted roots and berries and crystals and feathers and a long furry tail, but nothing worked. One day, a woman who called herself an environmental therapist claimed that she could cure Camilla. "Close your eyes," she said, "and breathe deeply and become one with your room." "I wish you hadn't said that," Camilla groaned. Slowly, she started melting into the walls of her room. Her bed became her mouth, her nose was her dresser, and the two paintings were her eyes. The therapist screamed and ran from the house. "What are we going to do?" cried Mrs. Cream. "It's just getting worse and worse." And she began to sob. At that moment, Mr. Cream heard a quiet knock at the front door. He opened it, and there stood an old woman who was just as plump and sweet as a strawberry. "Excuse me," she said brightly. "I think I can help." She went into Camilla's room and looked around. "My goodness," she said with a shake of her head. "What we have here is a bad case of stripes. The worst I've ever seen." She pulled a container of small green beans from her bag. "Here," she said. "These might do the trick." "Are those magic beans?" asked Mrs. Cream. "Oh my, no," replied the kind old lady. "There's no such thing. These are just plain old lima beans." "I'll bet you'd like some, wouldn't you?" she asked Camilla. Camilla wanted a big, heaping plateful of lima beans more than just about anything, but she was still afraid to admit it. "Yet," she says, "no one likes lima beans, especially me." "Oh dear," said the old woman sadly. "I guess I was wrong about you." She put the lima beans back in her bag and started towards the door. Camilla watched the old woman walk away. Those beans tasted so good, and being laughed at for eating them was nothing compared to what she was going through now. She finally couldn't stand it. "Wait," she cried. "The truth is, I really love love lima beans?" "Thought so," said the old woman with a smile. She took a handful of beans and popped them into Camilla's mouth. "Mmm," said Camilla. Suddenly, the branches, feathers, and squiggly tail began to disappear. The whole room swirled around, and when it stopped, Camilla stood there, and everything was back to normal. "I'm cured," she shouted. "Yes," said the old woman. "I knew the real you was in there somewhere." She patted Camilla on the head, and then she went outside and vanished into the crowd. Afterward, Camilla wasn't quite the same. Some of the kids at school said she was weird, but she didn't care one bit. She ate all the lima beans she wanted, and she never had a touch of the stripes again. The end. So my friends, that was our first story, and it's just a silly little story about a girl who really likes to eat lima beans. But our second story, which is called The Task of the Mask. It's something that is going on today, and you'll see everywhere when you go outside. You might see some people wearing bandanas. They go up over your nose like this. Or they could have a different type of mask, something like this, which goes over your face and ears, like that. Now, my friends, the mask is nothing to be afraid of. It's something that keeps you and I safe. So here it is, The Task of the Mask by Joan Morgenstern. What are you wearing that covers your face? I'm wearing a mask, and it's in the right place. To stop the germs from spreading from a big hot chew, that's one of the things a face mask can do. It works like a cover to keep the germs inside our very own mouth where our germs should reside. A face mask is used like a protective cape, so when we are all talking, our germs cannot escape. Did you know that germs are not easy to see, although people spread them, and quite easily? Germs do not have a color nor shape that is clear. We don't have a clue when the real germs are near. Germs travel through the nose and mouth. It is true. That's one of the things that many germs like to do. Face masks are used, you may see more each day, to help folks stay healthy and keep germs away. You may have a mask that can cover your eyes when playing pretend. It's the perfect disguise. But this one is different. It has a big task to catch the nasty germs. That's the job of this mask. There is no need to worry nor feel less at ease. A face mask holds the germs back and catches each sneeze. And always remember, because it's true, each person's the same. It's the mask that is new. Okay, my friends, that's all we have for this story time. If you would like some activities to do, scroll down and check out the links below. Otherwise, you can check out our website at cmcleveland.org. And we hope to see you again soon. Bye-bye.